All right, all right. Welcome everyone. So we're gonna do a live on. I got my good friend on here, Tech. Right, Tech
Yes.
is on the mic. So hey guys, my bad. So if I'm looking down, I got this two uh, microphones and two video cameras going on. So I gotta try my best to look directly at the camera, right up here. So okay, so here's the thing. We are going live right now, so we are live on YouTube. So everybody that come on, welcome to my channel, London Business as Usual, where I teach small business owners how to start, grow, and scale their business by using other people's money, aka business credit and business funding, right? Also bank credit too as well. So today we have a special show for you guys. So we're going to introduce on how to become your own bank by strategically using a form of uh, credit to essentially pay down your debt and then reap the rewards, right? So I have somebody on here that's going to teach you how you can do this and I'm going to teach you how you can get in position so you can strategically implement what we're going to teach you on this live today, right? So without further ado, like I said, I got Tech on here. He's going to explain who he is and what he does and how he can benefit you guys and how you can find value by looking at this live and so you can, like I said, make yourself more. It's all about cash flow at the end of the day. So we want to free up our debt so we can have more cash flow. So go ahead, Tech. Go ahead and
Hey,
introduce yourself.
yeah. Thanks for having me on today, London. I'm a big viewer of your channel, and I love everything that you discuss. So I'm happy to be here.
Appreciate
And
that.
it's Saturday, and we're here to help people get under control, their debt under control. I think that a lot of people have a big concern with debt, and I think that when people complain about their jobs, they complain about their coworkers, and they complain about uh, all the issues at the water cooler. You know what they're really talking about? They're really complaining about their debt.
Mm,
And it's no secret that, we have a perfect example because, our federal government is in a lot of debt. But I'm not going to go down that route, but, uh, they give us a good example of how to spend money and not managing our debt correctly. But debt is not a bad word. It is actually a very useful tool, and I think you do a good job of teaching people how to access credit and how to utilize it. So we want to give that an extra layer. But my name is Sekamaku, and I actually am a resident in California. I'm a husband and soon to be father. And also, I'm a business owner, and I love teaching people about the intricacies of managing their finances and debt. I also am a business owner of a automated notary business, and I teach people how to use tools and leverage technology so that they can be the CEOs of their business. But I'm just so fascinated about financial management because I think that if you understand how this works, you'll become a better business owner.
yeah, so here's the thing. You guys about to get a 1-2 punch because I'm going to teach you how to get it, right? How to get the business lines of credit. And Tech is going to teach you how to implement it. So it's a 1-2 punch. It's a really powerful strategy we about to teach you guys. So without further ado, if you got any questions, drop them in and answer your questions right here. Well, in the comments, put them in there and let's get to it. So one of the things I like to do when I talk about any type of particular funding, I like to make sure that everything is in position. Because when you go to these banks, when you go to these financial institutions, you want to be prepared. So most of us think, hey, well, we are business owners, so we need to everything has to be perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect, but some things does have to be in position. Like I'll give you an example. So if you walk into a Chase bank and you say, hey, Mr. Banker, right? I need $100,000 in funding. So I need a business loan. Well, they're going to ask you for all types of things. For one, a business plan, right? Because you're asking for a business loan. For two, you're going to need financial statements like P&L statements, balance sheets, cash flow statements, paycheck stubs, tax returns. For 3, they're going to need proof of business income, right? So they're going to need all these different types of documentations. But you're not realizing you went into Chase Bank asking for the wrong product, right? So you're asking for a business loan, right? So when the words that come out your mouth has to be very strategic. It's like a lawyer or a doctor. The reason why we're not lawyers and doctors is because we don't speak the language, right, verbally. So when you're going to these financial institutions, you have to make sure that you speak the language. So knowing and understanding where you are in your business to know what you qualify for is essential. So if you're not in business for 2 years, automatically you can't apply for a business loan, because one of the requirements, the qualifications to receiving a business loan with most financial institutions, especially national and regional banks, you have to be in business for 2 years. So understanding that, now, can we ask for a business line of credit? Maybe. Can we ask for unsecured business credit cards? Most definitely. Can we ask for equipment loans? It depends on what banks we go to. Can we ask for invoice financing? Just depend on what banks we go to. So understanding the banks, understanding the different financial products you can get approved for goes a long way. So with that being said, today we're going to specifically talk about business lines of credit and how you can utilize a business line of credit to become your own bank. Are you tracking? So again, if you got any questions, just put them in the comments and we will get to them. I appreciate everybody for coming on. So I'm going to talk about how you can position yourself as a business owner to get a business line of credit. And I want to talk about one specific bank, which is called American Express. Some of you guys definitely familiar with American Express. You need to be, right? They are a national bank. They practically in every state. So there's a difference between national banks, regional banks, community banks, credit unions, all different types of banks, right? So American Express is a national bank. It's one of the biggest and I would say prestigious banks out there. They're top of the tier list. If you're going by tier, they're right up there with Chase, right up there with Citibank, and I would say American Express. Those are the top tier banks that you want to be involved with. At least you want to have 1 out of 3. If you can get all 3, that's perfect. But I want to talk specifically about American Express business line of credit. I help a lot of people get American Express, whether it's unsecured business credit cards, whether it's business line of credit, whether it's getting a business checking account with American Express. So I've been with American Express for quite some time. I know how they operate. I talked to plenty of their representatives. 2 of my businesses have American Express credit cards. So I also have their business line of credit even before they merge with the company that they have now. So they made an acquisition. So I've been with American Express for quite some time. So I know exactly what you need to do and how you need to qualify for it. So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about American Express business line of credit. It is not what you think, because typically when it comes to a business line of credit, one of the requirements, usually you will have to be in business for 2 years, right? But with American Express, you don't have to be in business for 2 years to get qualified for their business line of credit. Now, you do have to be in business for at least 6 months. That's one of the requirements when it comes to American Express. I'm trying to see if I can share my screen so I can put it on here.
London, would you say that the business line of credit is, in my opinion, the business line of credit is the holy grail of all financial products, or, in the context of what we're talking about? But what would you say to that? It's like there's the company cards, and then there's the credit cards, and then there's the business loans, and then there's the business lines of credit. I always felt like the business line of credit, I always wanted to achieve that.
Mm-hmm. No, you're absolutely right. The business line of credit, I always just picture this. You get best of both worlds, right? When you're referring to the business lines of credit, because unlike an unsecured business credit card, let me just break down. First, a business line of credit is similar. They are both revolving credit. So secure business credit cards or unsecured business credit cards or business lines of credit, whether you get one from American Express, whether you pull in one, I would say, from your home, that's something else, a strategy we're going to talk about too, a HELOC, home equity line of credit, or just a regular personal line of credit. So they are revolving credit. So revolving credit is essentially where you get to use that line of credit and you only pay interest for what you use. And also, once you pay down that principal and that interest, you get to use it again. That's the strengths of having a line of credit. So it's revolving. So long as you pay it off, you can reuse it. Unlike a business loan, a term loan, or a personal loan, or an installment loan, I would say, where you have to, let's say they gave you a lump sum of money of $100,000 or $50,000, right? Once you get all at once, and once you use that money, you have to reapply if you want more, if you want to reuse it again. So, and also it has a fixed interest and a fixed principal rate. Revolving, it can fluctuate, right? The interest rate can go up and down, just depending on your balance. So that's the real, I would say, the totally difference between a business loan, credit cards, and also term loans. Now, also when it comes to a business line of credit, you have access to cash right away, right? Unlike a credit card where you have to do special things, you have to do things strategically to pull, or I would say to turn that credit into cash, such as liquidate that credit card, whether you're doing balance transfer checks, right? Whether you're doing that, or whether you're using merchant accounts to liquidate the credit cards, or you're doing some type of manufactured spending to pull the cash out. So you have to do some type of trick, and it's going to cost you fees and things like that. So you just have to put that in your cost too as well. But unlike a line of credit where you can just immediately pull the money into your business checking account, and now you have access to that cash, and it's revolving, so you get to reuse it, right? That's what you're referring to, Tech. Yeah. So it is the best of both worlds. It is the best they can get. It's better than unsecured business credit cards. It's better than any term loan or any equipment loan or invoice financing. So yeah, I'll definitely agree with you. Line of credit is the best.
Yeah,
for sure. Now, with that being said, let's talk about American Express line of credit. Now, American Express is a really unique bank, and they're one of those banks where it's a relationship type of bank too. So I always tell small business owners the best way to get approved for any type of funding, especially if you're going for the high limits, or especially if you're going for the business line of credit, things of that nature, you want to build a relationship with that financial institution, because lenders like to do business with people they know, like, or trust, right? So that's the biggest thing. So how do we build a relationship with these financial institutions? What are some of the ways we can do that? Great question. Let me answer that now. Some of the ways you can do that is, for one, you can be an authorized user on someone else's account. So prime example, if Tech allowed his best friend, his mother, his wife, whoever he want to add on to his account, his credit card, then he can add that individual. We call it piggybacking. He can add that individual to his American Express card. So now that individual picks up all the benefits and also pros and cons to doing this, because if you piggyback on a wrong person credit history, it could be more of a detriment to you more than anything. But let's say Tech, and I know he does, he has great payment history. His credit utilization is low. He pays his bills on time and over the period of time. Essentially, that's all credit is, your ability to pay your bills on time and over the period of time. Don't overcomplicate it. So Tech is doing all this. He have a great rapport with American Express. So he add that individual to his account, to his business credit card or personal credit card, whatever, business or personal. Now that individual is going to inherit all that good credit history from Tech. So that's one way you can become, or you can build a relationship with American Express, because now they have your data, your information, as you being a part of American Express. So that's a pro tip right there, guys. So if you want to get into American Express, you can become an authorized user on somebody else's account. Now, the second way you can build a relationship with American Express is you can use somebody affiliate link. So when you're trying to apply for American Express and somebody sends you their link, so now you're registered under them. Now you can apply for them. Now you can build a relationship that way too as well. Another way to build a relationship is you can get one of their products or their services. So for example, they have a business checking account. So you can get a business checking account with American Express, and you can build it that way. So again, we just want to build a relationship with this bank that we're trying to get funding for. It's not a requirement. I'm gonna put it that way. It's not a requirement. However, by you building that solid foundation with them, they are more likely to approve you for. Now, other things have to be in position. We're going to go over that too as well. So other things have to be in position um, before before you even think about considering applying for a business line of credit. So Tech, what's your experience? Let's say, what's your experience with a line of credit? How so far as a line of credit benefits you? Any type of way you want to share with the people?
Yeah, actually, you know, I was a big, proponent of credit cards. And speaking of the relationships, it's funny. I remember back in 2018, my brother, he told me, you gotta have American Express. Oh, you're ready for American Express. Get American Express. And my brother's been, dealing with credit cards and uh, dabbling around in credit for a long time, right? But I always had like Capital One, I had all these other Discover, all the Bank of America, the usuals, but I never had American Express. And then he told me, hey man, you should think about getting American Express. So I applied for American Express, and uh, small little point about that, I had just became a homeowner at that time, so I figured it was the right time to do it. So I applied for American Express, and I got a $500 limit on a credit card. Not much, nothing to scream over, right? But nonetheless, that was the beginning of the relationship. And see, I didn't know this at the time, and I never used the card. I probably used the card maybe 3 or 4 times because it was just a $500 limit, and I had all these other cards that I use on a daily basis.
On a quick note, real quick,
Yeah.
Tech, let me stop you there. See, I love what you just said because most people get caught up into the fact that, hey, I got approved, but I only got approved for $500. Now, yes, it's $500 and that is low. However, sometimes it's just about getting inside the door, right?
Right.
Putting your feet inside the door, because once you in, now you can work your way up, right? It's not about where you start. We all heard this. It's about where you finish. So I just want to add that in. And sometimes, yeah, you don't get the limit that you want in the beginning. However, if you strategize, then you can eventually get a higher limit. But go ahead.
But that's exactly right, because when I got that limit, I was like, $500? And here I am. I have another car with a much, much, much higher balance than that. I'm not going to say the number, but it's way higher than that. And so I just never used the American Express card. But lo and behold, some years later, that initial relationship definitely paid off because I had already had a 3 year. And by the way, when I started um, applying for business credit cards and things like that, and other American Express products, I completely forgot about that other card. And they told me, "Oh, you've had an thank you for being a." And by the way, I love American Express's customer service, one of the best.
Oh,
I
the best,
love
the
contact
best. Oh my God, the best. Sure.
isn't it?
Yeah, top tier.
It is very, very good. I love the way that they follow up with you. I love that. I just love it. But one of the emails messages that I got, it said, "Thanks for being a member for or since 2018." I'm thinking, what? Oh, that's right. I have had a card for that long. So I was very happy. But to answer your question, so eventually when I got um, I didn't know that they offered a business line of credit. And when I found out, then it became my mission to get that product. And I did apply for it initially, and I didn't get it. I wasn't approved for it. So, and that's when, full disclosure, I started working with you and getting myself in position. And I told you, I was very upfront with you that I want my end goal. I will know that I have won, cross the finish line, hit the game winning shot when I get the business line of credit, because I knew, to me, that was, you know, ultimately what I wanted to achieve. And that was my holy grail.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I do work with tech, so we have got business credit cards with American Express, so he can grow, his business, use that capital, whether it be for equipment, supplies, staff, systems, just to or hire even, you know, BAs. Well, that's part of staff, but that's what business credit is primarily for, right? You want to utilize that funding, so again, you can grow or scale your business, or if you're beginning to start your business. So I highly recommend you guys uh, getting some type of business credit, some type of business funding. It's way easier than what we call bootstrapping your business. Because I've been there, I've done that. My brother and I, we started our limousine company back in 2014, and we had to work extremely hard before I dived into the world of credit back in 2017. So I sold my car, quit my job, worked at a casino, bought our first party bus in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, 21,000. Borrowed some money from family and friends. Then once we got the bus, all type of maintenance issues, brakes went out, $10,000 for a transmission. Again, brakes 5,000, air conditioner on and off. So it was it was a learning experience. Let me say that it was challenging, right? But then I found out this little thing called credit, and it just changed my world upside down, right? So I eventually learned about personal credit, and I transitioned to business credit, got my first business loan, an equipment loan where I was able to buy my first party bus that I bought back in 2000. Well, actually my second one with credit. Bought that with an equipment loan, went to Asian. They specialize in small business loan, again, business loan. So I had just about every loan you can think of: MCA, equipment loans, business line of credit, unsecured business line of credit, secure business credit cards, right? Anything you can think of, I had the financing when it comes to type of funding you can qualify for. Now, again, this is not a commercial for American Express, right? We just using them as an example. And the reason why I'm using American Express because they're one of the easiest business line to get. So we're not sponsored by American Express, anything like that. I'm just using them as an example because in reality is you can use this method. I'm gonna let Tech talk about this a little bit more, but you can use any line of credit, even a home equity line of credit, right? To use the strategy that we're gonna implement today when we say become your own bank. So I'm just using Bank of America. Again, this could be PNC line of credit. This can be Wells Fargo line of credit, but I'm just using American Express as an example because it's one of the easiest lines of credit you can get, especially if you have that rapport, that relationship with them. Are you tracking? So let me get into some of the requirements that you can qualify for American Express and how, then I'm sending it over to Tech and how we can use this line of credit to become the bank. All right. So let's dive into it. Now, the first thing you want to make sure you do, I already talked about building a relationship, so you have that down. Now, the first thing besides building a relationship, you want to make sure that you're properly positioned. This means, number one, you want to make sure you have a business. When I mean business, I mean some type of separate entity. This means you have to have an LLC, an S corporation, a C corp, or even like a partnership, something like that. Something that separate you from your business. So you want to create a separate entity. That's number one. Then secondly, and this part is properly structuring your business. Did you know over 90% of a business owner get turned down because their business not properly structured? So having an LLC, a separate entity, getting the EIN, employment identification number, is huge, right? Also, you want to look professional as possible. Credit is all about perception. Do you look good on paper? So this means if you're not a brick and mortar, you want to make sure that you have a virtual office, right? And in one of the most prestigious neighborhoods in your city, in your town. Why? Because again, credit's all about perception. Do you look good on paper? I don't care if you're doing business inside your mother's basement. I don't care if you're doing business inside your car, inside your garage, inside your home office. But on paper, you want to look good as possible. And you can easily do this by getting a virtual office, not a virtual address, not a PO box, but a virtual office, a physical location where you can go there and conduct business. Again, we're talking about, if you just joined, we're talking about properly structuring your business so we can get a business line of credit so we can become the bank. We're breaking that down. Now that we properly structure our business, well, let me go over some more key points too. Let's say a business professional email address, a .com, a .org, a .net, something really professional. Then also you want to have a professional phone number, like a toll-free number, like a 1-800 number, 833. You can go to Vonage to get this. You can go to Ring Central to get a professional phone number. Same thing with a virtual office. I recommend you going through Opus, OPUS. Why? Because they will give you a virtual office. But not only that, now every time you make that payment, that monthly payment, they're going to report that payment as a trade line, right? They're going to report it as a trade line. And they're going to report it to Credit Safe. So you're building business credit. So you're killing two birds in one stone. Not only you got a virtual office, so Opus, OPUS, but also in addition to that, they adding your monthly payment to your business credit profile to build you business credit, and they report to Credit Safe. So, professional phone number, email address, get a virtual office. Also, you want to list your business in public records. So with lenders, creditors, when they look your information up, they can see your business is listed in the public records. So you can do that too as well. One of the website, listyourself.net, right? That's where you put your business, put your phone number in 411. Yes, they still check the 411. That's one of the resources lenders do check. So you want to make sure you're doing that. And it definitely can help to have a business website, right? So you're going to have a business. It doesn't have to be anything. I revamped my website, I don't know, probably like 7 to 8 times over the last 5 years. So you can easily just constantly change your website, but hire someone on Fiverr. You don't have to go out there. Look, we business owners, we CEOs. We don't have to go out there and build our own website. You want to delegate that responsibility. Delegate or automate. That's both our motto, right, Tech?
Yeah.
Delegate or automate. So we want to make sure we're doing that, right? But if you don't want to build your website, hire somebody from Fiverr. May cost you like $90, may cost you all the way to $150, but it's well worth it, right? So you want to do that too. Next, whatever, you want to have a Dun and Brad number, aka a pay debt score. So you want to make sure it's 100% free. You don't have to pay Dun and Bradstreet any money to build out your own personal credit profile. And if you don't know, lenders, banks, financial institutions, they practically care less about your AD pay debt score. They can care less. No financial institution you go to say, hey, what's your pay debt score? Tech, am I wrong or right?
I've never been asked that question.
Never asked you that question. Right? Never really asked that question. What we got? Lemon, you don't really need all that. Banks ain't done. They can see the real address through your bank account. So all that's pointless extra stuff. Okay, all banks care about is your credit profile and revenue and tax returns. So somewhat you're right, but it depends on what I would say. It depends on what product you're going for. So you're saying they care about your tax returns. You don't need tax returns to get an unsecured business credit card. You don't need tax returns when you go to different financial institutions like American Express to get a business line of credit. So you only need tax returns if you're trying to get a certain amount. So if you're trying to get a business line of credit over $50,000, they're going to need your tax returns. If you're trying to go to a traditional bank, like a Chase Bank, who's more stringent when it comes to line of credit, yes, you're going to need your tax return. If you're trying to go to Wells Fargo, you got a relation with them, you can get an SBA line of credit where you don't need your tax returns. So that's what I say. You're primarily right. And as far as income, there's certain products you don't have to show any proof of income because you can do stated income or project your income. So again, this all depends on what products you go to when it comes to that. And you said it's useless or pointless to not have all that.
Well, can I add this too as well, London?
Sure.
So as far as the tax return thing, I definitely see that point. You're right, because if you're doing like a home equity line of credit where you're accessing $650,000, right, and you're in the secure by your home, then they definitely want to show some, like, hey, you're not just anybody, right?
Oh,
but
yeah, absolutely.
Even with the business line of credit, you can plug into, like, you can submit statements, 2-3 month statements, things like that. Or you could just, because everything's digital nowadays, so you could even just plug into your account and they'll just sync it all up. And that's really the way I would prefer because it's so much quicker.
Oh, absolutely. And most banks now, they do that. Plug it up to Plaid, right? And they'll see all your records. They'll see the cash flow coming in, the cash flow going out. They see all your deposits. They can distinguish which is which. So it's not like you can kind of like fake your deposits. They understand where they're coming from. So that's why they hook up to that machine to see exactly, or I would say that platform, and see exactly what's going on with your deposits. So yeah, if you're trying to get, like I said, $650,000 a course, they want to see your 2-year tax returns, right? That's a lot of money that they're giving you. So the risk is too high for them to give you no documentations. So yes, they definitely want to see tax returns. They want to see bank statements. They want to see profit and loss, right? They want to see all that financial documents to see if you're credible and see if you're lendable. Also to determine what type of terms you get. So also they want to check your business credit profile along by checking your personal credit profile, and see if there's any derogative or negative items on your credit profile. So all that goes into play. But my point is, it's possible for you to get funding without having those documentations if you're just beginning your business. What I mean, less than 2 years old, you can still get access to funding. You don't have to be earning $1 million in revenue. You don't have to have 100 people working under you. So it just all depends on where you are in your business, right? How your business is positioned. Then you go from there. So with that being said, let's go continue with American Express. So for those of you who's been in business for less than 2 years, you can still qualify for this business line of credit when it comes to American Express. Number one, we make sure our business is properly structured. Number two, we got to make sure we have a optimize our personal credit profile. I'm gonna talk a little bit about that. I'm not gonna go deep into it, but just want to make sure some type of data points when it comes to our personal credit profile. So number one, you want to make sure you have good payment history. Pay your bills on time over the period of time. Number two, we want to make sure we have no derogative or negative items on our credit profile, especially if they're younger than 2 years. So if it's over 2 years, you still may can get approved. Some lenders will look past it because if you look on your personal credit profile, it mainly go back the last 2 years. And yes, I'm talking about a business line of credit you can qualify. Most of you guys, so we have to PG. Yes, you definitely will have to PG. The only reason you wouldn't have to PG, again, if you have that real solid relationship with them, if you making millions of dollars in your business, you can get corporate credit. You don't really have to PG, but majority of us will have to personal guarantee. Now, these accounts does not report on your personal credit profile, but you will have to use your personal credit profile to get these business accounts. Are you tracking? So it's really important. Yes, you have the personal guarantee. I'm gonna say it again. Yes, you will have the personal guarantee. So those of you who say, "Oh, well, I don't want a personal guarantee. I want to keep everything separate." That's exactly what you're doing because none of these accounts report on your personal. In fact, did you know American Express, they don't even report to the business credit bureaus, Experian, Equifax, or Dun & Brad. They do report to a small business financial exchange. So keep that in mind too. So a lot of banks, a lot of people get their information, LexisNexis get their information for your business from the small business financial chain. Technically, they're not a business bureau, but they're a big play out there. So, all right, so our personal credit have to be in position. Our credit utilization have to be 10% low, not 30%, but 10% low. 30% is average. Paying our bills on time. We want to make sure that we have some type of high credit limit on our credit profile. Let's say anything 5,000 limit or higher. I recommend you have it on there. If not, you got to ask for credit increases, or you got to go through, I would say, resources like credit unions to get that higher line of credit on your credit line on your credit profile. I already mentioned no late payments. What else I mentioned? Our history. We want to make sure we have good credit history. 5 years, average age, 5 years or more when it comes to your credit cards or when it comes to your history in general. Then 2 years when it comes to your revolving credit cards. So just go over some of the data points. Now, we also want to make sure our hard inquiries are low, right? You don't want to apply when you're trying to get business lines of credit or unsecured business credit cards with a lot of inquiries, because hard inquiries make you look thirsty for credit. No one likes to lend to an individual who look like they constantly need credit. It's not a good look, right? So we're gonna make sure that's in position. What else I missed with your personal credit profile? I'm gonna start right there. That's about it. Also, you want to make sure when it comes to your business, you've been in business for at least 1 year to qualify for American Express. 1 year. Then when it comes to cash flow, minimum, I'll say 5,000, but American Express will accept 3,000 monthly. So this is go with your bank credit. This is talking about your bank rating number. So everybody got a bank rate number, because technically, if you don't have a business checking account, you're not in business. I don't care how long you have your articles of organization. If you don't have a business checking account, you're not in business. So that's part of properly structuring your business by having a business checking account. So once you get a business checking account, now you're going to develop a bank rating number. So I'm not going to go deep in detail about bank rating number. That's a whole different type of Zoom in itself or live in itself. If you want more information on that, you can definitely subscribe to my Patreon. I should have put the link in here, but subscribe to my Patreon and you can get that information. So qualifications, you got to at least be 18 years and old to qualify for this business loan. 1 year in business, your FICO score needs to be at least a 660 and at least have to make 3,000 and revenue on a monthly basis to qualify for this particular business loan. Now, with those based on other business lines of credit, that's relatively easy, right? So if you go on a Chase or trying to get a Bank of America, get a business line of credit, yes, you're gonna have to show like tax returns and stuff like that. So their requirements is really easy when it comes to getting this business loan if you are in position. So if you meet those requirements, if you're making more than $3,000, you've been in business for at least a year, you have over a 660 personal credit score, and you're at least 18 years old, you can qualify for this particular loan. Now, once you get the loan, let's say if you get $25,000, $50,000, let's say 50, you get 50, then you can use this strategy that we're about to teach you now. So I'm gonna let Tech explain exactly what we're talking about, and I'm gonna let him introduce what we're talking about, and then we can go from there.
By the way, man, I could talk about this all day because I love just learning about this because it's so beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely.
It can only benefit you. And by the way, I came across some of these strategies and these approaches because I wanted to, and this is full disclosure, I wanted to purchase a home. And in that process, the things that I came across, the people who I spoke with, all the consultations, I'm the type of person who will look into information. I won't over research it, but I'll definitely ask someone who's done it before I jump into it. I won't do things blindly. So in that process of purchasing a home, me and my girlfriend at the time, we were planning to get married and things like that. So it the same thing just kept popping up. Have to be an owner, have to be a business owner. You should own, you should own, you should own. And in order for me to do that, I have to, be a better um, steward of my finances. I have to be in more control of that. So anyway, I came across this interesting video, this topic that talked about paying off mortgages in 5 to 7 years. And I thought about that. If you can pay off a mortgage in 5 to 7 years, can't you pay off a credit card in 5 to 7 years too? Or could you pay off a car in 5 to 7 years? Like, could, because my understanding is that a mortgage, a product, is just a financial instrument. It's just a tool. So if it, and I kind of oversimplifying it, but in that process, I learned all the different types of interest. There's daily balance interest, there's amortized interest, there's simple interest. I don't want you to focus on any of those things. I just really want you to focus on the concept of paying down debt. Again, remember, my whole purpose was to be in a position, my personal credit, my personal finances, to be in a position so that I could then approach a lender, and then I wouldn't have, pie slapped to my face because I got denied as soon as I walk in the door. By the way, I can't read the comments here, so London, just feel free to cut me off and let me know if there's any questions about anything that I talked about today. All right, so I'm going to share my screen, and I want to show you guys a little bit of. By the way, I've got like a whole page of notes here of what I've just taken just from you here, just from you talking. So let's do this here. So the question I want to ask is, or the question you might want to ask yourself is, well, why borrow your own money? Well, if you don't get anything from what I talk about today, and I'm going to try to go through this fairly quickly because I know we don't have a lot of time, but I'm going to try to go through this concept very, very concisely, but I'm going to go kind of fast. And I'm presumably your audience, they are business owners, they are interested in this topic, and they might have a little bit of background knowledge on this stuff already. But if you don't take anything away from what I say today, the number 1, 2, and 3, these are the things I want you to take away. If you don't learn anything else, read your statements. Okay, look at how you are being charged. Read it. I think you'd be very surprised or you'd be very informed as to how it works. And this is a great way. How many people read their statements, by the way? It's okay. I never used to read my statements. They used to send it to me every month, but I never looked at them. Start doing that. That's a good practice. And I hope that you get a glimpse of how money works just from the introduction that London gave, all those back setting up and positioning yourself. This is going to give you a glimpse into how money is transacted and how these things work and how you can look good on paper and how you can actually have a a properly structured um, internal banking system, which is what I'm going to show you. Because you hear a lot about being your own bank, and really, I want you to walk away with how to um, not pay interest, because really, that's how money is worked. That's how money works. You pay interest, you earn it, you pay it, you earn it. But in between that, you're lending it. Is money's being loaned. This is a debt-based economy. Not sure if you guys know that or not, or if anyone's introduced that to you, but America is a debt-based economy. We buy and sell each other's homes. That's a good indication to how the economy is going based upon how people are buying and selling homes, and then obviously the federal mortgage interest rates or federal interest rates is applies to how money is borrowed. And I just finally hope this message blows you away. I hope you learned something from this. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a quick example. This is an internal cash flow system. This is an example of how or what it would look like. Okay, so this example is someone who would use a 10,000. So if they had a pool or a pot of $10,000, this is how they would break it down. I'm going to explain this in just very briefly. I'm going to give you a couple of different examples here. So let's say you have a payment processing system, Stripe, PayPal. There's hundreds of them, but this is how you receive payments in your business. Okay, that $10,000 is broken down into what we call the lending pool. In this case, it's 2675. And if you look down below at the bottom, if you look here, that number is exactly the number here. So you are now borrowing from yourself. Again, the question, why borrow your own money? So these numbers are exactly the same. This is the bank's money, and this is your money. Your money actually supports, or it backs what you are spending on a monthly basis. And notice it says up to 2675. So in no circumstances would you go higher than that. Using a line of credit in this example is 2500. But you could go up to 2675, but you are disciplined, aren't you? Right? So you don't go above 2500. And that 2500 is fed by your business checking account. So this is how you get paid from your customers, from your products, from your services, and that goes into your lending pool. That lending pool then supports your business checking, and then that business checking supports the line of credit, which is revolving. And then you also have your card, or in this case, your business credit card, to do your monthly spending. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. But again, if it doesn't, just kind of follow me here. All right, and then I have statement close dates and statement open and statement due dates, things like that on the side here. And I wouldn't pay too much attention to that right now, but just kind of understand where these numbers come from. All right, I'm gonna show you the exact same thing.
So Ted, real quickly, if you
Sure.
don't mind. So you're saying you take your business checking and you take those funds and you put that into your line of credit?
Yes.
Okay. Got it.
And then the line of credit, and you're going to see this in a second, the line of credit pays the business credit card. So so again, I say up to 2675. That's because in order for you guys to borrow money, it costs. I'm sure because you watch the channel, you guys know this, but it's worth repeating. When you borrow money, there's a cost involved, and that cost is called interest. So if I borrowed 2500, it cost me $175. You see where that 2675 came from? It cost me $175 to borrow 2500. But this 2675 is already backed by my lending pool. That's why those numbers are the same. So you'll always have that. And then that 2675, it's drip released, if you want to say that. It's supported by your business checking account. And this is just an example with $10,000. But let's say you didn't have $10,000. I like that number because it's nice and round and it's very practical because a lot of people can relate to that. But let's say you didn't have that. It's not the number. I want to emphasize that. It's really just the concept that you apply. The numbers are just numbers. It could be $1 million, it could be $10 million, it could be 20,000. It's just the concept is really what I want you guys to kind of focus on. All right. So let's say you had $1,000. Same thing applies. Now you might be saying, well, what can I do with $425? Which is similar to what I was saying earlier when I had the $500 credit card from American Express. So what am I going to do with this? All right. Well, you can do something with it. You can pay a phone bill. You can pay groceries. Food. You can do something with it. But that same concept. Let's say you have a line of credit or a credit card, because a line of credit is a credit card, basically, right? The concept is there, but the product is just, I don't want to get too much into why a line of credit is different than a credit card. It really has to do with how the money, how you're charged for using the funds, and how they calculate how much you owe and when you owe, based upon daily balances, based upon simple interest, things like that. That's the only difference. But essentially, it's a line of credit. Okay. So when you hear things like velocity banking, you hear things about like being your own bank and using lines of credit, by the way, just a quick point. This is for disciplined people. If you're not a disciplined, person with your money and with your finance, you're not watching, you're not reading your statements. I would put those things into practice first. Get familiar with reading your statements. Become more of a disciplined steward of your finances, and then I wouldn't just recommend this to anybody. Would you agree with that, London? You have to kind of be on top of this stuff. You should watch it. You should monitor these things.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You have to be financially disciplined for any financial strategy to work, especially this strategy. So you definitely want to make sure that you're disciplined. You want to have more cash coming in than cash going out. So positive cash flow, right? Or
Yes.
if I'm not mistaken, this strategy will not work. All right.
Yeah, this isn't for everybody. Okay, so let's be very, very clear. This doesn't work for every single body. There are certain people that really are good candidates for this, and there's people who are not. But that doesn't mean that you can't, one day become a good candidate for these type of strategies. All right, but same thing applies. You have $1,000, just sitting around in a savings account doing nothing. You have $1,000 sitting in your PayPal account just doing nothing, right? These days, these modern times, money has to be put to work. It's important that money, if it's not moving, it's losing. So we have to keep it moving. But same thing applies. Let's say if you didn't have $1,000, let's say you had $3,000. Same thing applies. You have a credit card. You impose these limits onto yourself. $1,400. I'm sorry, $1,350, and you put a self-imposed limit, $1,400. You have a pool of $1,350 that supports the line of credit, right? Because every month, because you pay your bills on time and you do it regularly, you have a line of credit that can release money into your credit card. Half of it or all of it, all at once, right? I recommend doing half because you have, 2 points in a month, the statement dates and things like that. But hopefully that makes sense to you guys. Leander, let me know if there's any questions about anything I just said. But basically, this is how an internal cash flow system would basically look. Okay, so here's a cute picture of a bucket. You guys heard the bucket analogies. Once this bucket is filled up, it's at all the way up to the brim is at $10,000. We're going to stick with that first example. All right. Again, don't think about the number. It's just the concept. It's the number doesn't really matter, right? It's just the concept. You have to understand the concept. So if you have half a bucket filled, then that means you have $5,000 in this bucket, right? So you guys get that. And if you don't get that, just rewatch the video. Okay. So that's our goal is to have this bucket filled to the top, and that means we have $10,000 within our internal cash flow system. Okay. I'm gonna try to speak a little bit slower just in case people are not following me because it took me, by the way, it took me 6 years to perfect this system. Trial, error, watching, monitoring the statements, seeing how interest is being charged. It took me 6 years, okay, of failing, trying, overpaying, underpaying,
I
right?
love it. That's dedication right there. So
Man.
you're talking to a real experienced individual here.
So if you're not getting this, don't worry because I'm trying to condense 6 years of knowledge into this, 10 minutes here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So don't just watch, don't worry about taking notes or anything. Just kind of follow me here. All right. The objective, again, why borrow your own money? That's the question. But our objective is to never pay interest. Or if you have to pay interest, you pay it to your bank. That's why we talk about being your own bank. And that's why you get that buzzword that's thrown around a lot. But the whole objective is to earn the interest, or to, at least to not pay interest, or you earn the interest instead of you paying the interest. And it just so happens that large financial institutions, they allow us, you know, access to their products, and then we can use these strategies, which is why London is so important and so crucial to this community. So I just want to let you know that I love what you're doing. Okay, so our objective is to never pay interest. And by the way, I'm at a point now where I don't pay interest anymore because I have my own internal cash flow system and I do that. So have to be a disciplined spender. In this case, 2,500, 2,500 is our budget. As we know, some months things change, don't they? Some months you earn less money, some months you earn more money, some months your spending is less, some months you're spending more. So it fluctuates. And that's the beauty of this because there's so much flexibility and it's realistic because we know that our lives are so dynamic. Things change. Your car breaks down, kids got to get braces, um, got to go on a trip, you need a new pair of pants, stuff happens. And the the powerful thing about this is that you are never in a position where you have to say no. Okay, you're never in a position where you cannot go to them. You can't take your wife to the movies, or you can't, you know, get your kids ask for, just some little hat because school is requiring them to wear a hat for the next field trip, and you can't pay for it. You don't want to be. Those are not good positions to be in. You always want to be able to say, yes, I can do this. And yes, I can manage this because I have my internal system. But being a disciplined spender is very, very important. It's at the very top of the list. All right. You're using the line of credit, the funds that are made available instantly to you to pay off at least 50%, at least half of it. In this case, it's going to be 1337 point and 50 cents, which is half of 26.75. You guys see that? So on a monthly basis or on a bi-monthly basis, it's up to you. But in this case, on a monthly basis, just to make things simple, that 1337.50 is exactly half of 26.75. It pays off the line of credit, and the line of credit pays off the business credit card. Okay, and your your business, or the money just the revenue that's generated from your business, so from whatever you do, is uh, constantly deposited or refilled through your payment processor, your payment gateway. All right, and that's in this example. So the whole goal is at the beginning, your bucket is 10,000, or it's 1,000, or it's 5,000, whatever it is, and you want to get it back up to um, to the top. In this case, it's 2675. That's what's constantly uh, that's the number that's constantly being sent into your, in this case, your business checking account to support the line of credit, which supports the business credit card. Okay. Now, cash flow is something that London talks about constantly, and he's absolutely right. That's going to be, that's where what banks are looking at. And by the way, I'm no banking expert. I'm no financial expert. I do have a license, by the state of California and Department of Insurance to talk about financial topics. So I definitely want to make that disclosure. But cash flow is what really matters, isn't it, London?
Absolutely. It's all about cash flow.
It's
Name
cash flow.
Cash flow is the true king. See, most people think credit is king, uh, or cash is king, but cash flow is king, because how many times people had, or you had, $100,000 or $10,000, doesn't amount. It doesn't matter the amount, but you seeing that money slowly but surely dissipate, right? Why? Because you don't have sufficient cash flow to keep that money growing. So same thing about credit. Credit is useless. Useless. It's just a tool. It's all about using that credit to invest in this asset that's going to produce you cash flow. So absolutely, cash flow is the true king.
So if cash flow is the true king, then do we want to increase cash flow or do we decrease it? We want to increase it, right? And the goal is to always increase the cash flow. And there's a couple ways you can do this. Like now, like you can increase your cash flow, but you got to understand, what is the goal? The goal is to increase the cash flow. So if your goal was never to increase cash flow, then guess what? You're not going to increase the cash flow. That has to be your specific goal. And there's the first way to increase your cash flow. And I ask people, well, what would you do to increase your cash flow? They say, well, I need to make more money. How many times have you asked that question? And then they say, oh, I need to go get a second job or a third job. I need to do Uber. I need to do DoorDash. I need to go I need to work at retail. And true, that's right. However, let me ask you this. If you get a second job or a third job or do DoorDash, and then your habits don't change, again, we talk about discipline. If your spending habits don't change, have you solved the problem? Likely you haven't. So we got to talk about our habits. We have to become better financial stewards of our money. We got to be better disciplinarians of our money. So that's the first way. Most people, majority of people will say, I need to increase my income. Well, the second way is you can also decrease your expenses, right? And the easiest way to decrease your expenses is to stop spending as much. But I don't want to contradict myself when I say decrease your expenses. I'm not saying, you like going out to dinner with your wife and then you just stop going out to dinner. I'm not saying do that. Don't compromise your lifestyle. You don't have to eat beans and rice for the rest of your life, right? What I'm saying is your debt, decrease your debt. You see, probably about 35 to 50% of people's expenses goes to servicing debt. They're paying interest, and then the interest builds up a little bit, and then they pay down the interest, and then it builds up a little bit more, and then they pay down. Debt or interest is based upon the principal that you owe. So paying down the principal is how you pay down debt. And the easiest way to decrease your expenses is to pay down your debt. And this is what I'm teaching you, is to have an internal cash flow system so that you can strategically and predictably pay down your debt so that you can eventually have zero debt. So, but which one is easier, if I ask you, to increase your expenses or to to increase your income or to pay down your expenses? Which one is easier? Well, most people say, well, I can just go get a second job, a third job. Now you have less time. Now you're more stressed. Now you have second obligation. Now you have more responsibility. So is it really easier? Well, it's probably easier just to pay down your expenses or to decrease your expenses so that you can increase your cash flow. And I would say it's much, based upon what we just discussed, it's much easier in the short term and in the long term to just decrease your expenses so that you can have this internal cash flow system. All right. Lastly, I'm going to give you this quick illustration. This is an example of somebody with, let's say you have a credit card. Let's say you have a home equity line of credit, and then you also have a car loan. So you have a balance of 14,000 on the credit card, and let's say um, the limit is 16,000. You have a $50,000 home equity line of credit. Let's say the balance is 47,000, and you have a car loan, or let's say you got a new car, and then the balance is about 21,000. Now, London, you said something very, very, very crucial, and I want to make sure that people didn't miss this. That you said something earlier, and I'm going to point this out right now. The cost to carry the debt. Do you read your statements? Do you know how much they're charging you? Do you know what it costs to service the debt? And this is how you decrease your expenses, right? I'm gonna talk about you talk about cash flow. You said something very interesting. I'm gonna point it out right now. You talked about the difference between a business loan and a business line of credit. I want to make sure people caught this. The difference between a business loan and a business line of credit. A business loan is really just a one-way transaction, isn't it? A business line of credit is a two-way transaction. You can pay, and then what? You can access the cash again. Then you can pay it, then you can access the cash again. Then you can pay it again, and then you can access again and again. And you can pay it. So you see, there's a two-way relationship there. That's very important for things like a line of credit and things like a home equity line of credit or business line of credit, a personal line of credit. With an auto loan, is it a one-way transaction or is it a two-way transaction? It's a one-way transaction. You pay Toyota or you pay Ford or Chevy, and they don't. You can't make your $600 car payment or $552 car payment, and then say, "Hey, I need about $130 of that so I can take my wife to the movies." No, no, no. You can't do that with a car loan. It's a one-way transaction. You pay them, but if you pay bills from your business line of credit or from your home equity line of credit or your credit card, then it's a two-way transaction. You can pay it both ways. So these are two-way loans, and that's how when you calculate, um, the cost of the loan. Well, in order to borrow $14,000 in this case, it costs you $330 a month. Now, with a home equity line of credit, because you say, well, damn, I can access $47,000 and it only cost me 394. That's way much better than a credit card. Well, yeah, because it's calculated differently. The interest on a home equity line of credit or business line of credit or personal line of credit is calculated much different than a revolving credit or a consumer credit card. It's much different. So they calculate the interest differently, and therefore you can have access to much, much, much more higher limits than you could on something like your credit card. And then also, when you said something very, very powerful, also too, that it's unsecured, it's not backed by anything. So your home equity line of credit is backed by obviously your primary residence or some rental properties that you might have. Your credit card is unsecured; it's not backed by anything. It's backed by your personal, your word, your personal name, right? Your signature. That's what it's backed by. So it's calculated much differently. And then your car, it doesn't. You're paying in this case 500, sometimes $1,000 to carry the debt that's involved with using an auto loan or borrowing money from a financial institution. But again, it's just a one-way loan. You're not really getting anything out of it. So um, that's basically. Oh, I'm going backwards. I wanted to do a quick overview of what that looks like. I know this is kind of new to people, but it's essentially what happens is if you have personal questions that how this applies to you, then for sure, go to drtech.com and schedule one of these strategy calls, these 15-minute strategy calls, and then I'll be happy to look over what it is that you have and see if there's any way I can help you with that.
I love it. I love it. And I want to add to that as well, really quickly, as far as you have to know, you have to, I won't say pick your poison, but you have to be strategic about your options, because you said something that was really interesting, regarding not only being disciplined but also understanding your opportunity costs. Because on one hand, if you want to increase your cash flow, yes, you can go out and do a side hustle, start another business, and invest in some type of asset that's going to potentially increase your cash flow. However, what comes with that is more expenses. What
Yes.
comes with that is more time, right? So you have to weigh out your options with that, because on the other hand, now on this hand, you're doing philosophy banking where you decreasing your expenses and you increasing your cash flow.
Yes.
So you have to understand where your strategy lies, and that's based on you. So some individuals, hey, I just want to get multiple assets, because there's pros to that too. Now you're not putting your eggs all in one basket, because on this end, if you do philosophy banking, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you're not disciplined enough, it can go down the damn toilet, right? So now you're putting all your eggs in one basket. But on the other hand, if you want to increase your income, increase your cash flow, you start multiple different types of businesses or side hustles. Yes, but a lot comes with that. So a lot comes, like I said, more expenses, more time. So you just really have to the opportunity cost, because what's your return on your investment? At the end of the day, that's what matters, your ROI. Are you getting more return on investment by doing it this way, right? Maybe 8%, 10%, 20%, or are you getting more return on your investment by going this way? So just really have to weigh your options out. And that's all just depends on you. You know you more than anybody else, right? You know your spending habits. You know, are you disciplined enough? Are you able to develop some type of financial discipline? So you just have to weigh your options at the end of the day. There's no right or wrong way. You know, at the end of the day, it all comes down to discipline. But again, any questions?
Yeah, I would say talk to people too, man. I would say if you don't know, you're not sure, talk to somebody. I urge you, I urge you. I'll talk to London as much as I possibly can, because I know that although I might already have the answer, I definitely, definitely want to hear his input and hear what he has to say.
No, that's true. Yeah, we all sometimes we don't know what we don't know. I tell people that all the time. We think we got the right answer, but you don't even know what the right answer could be, because you don't know. Like, the more information and the more knowledge you obtain, it can be through different types of sources, as far as mentees, mentors, as far as coaches, as far as reading books, as far as YouTube University, right? Wherever your resource is, then you want to tap into that resource and get all the information, knowledge that you can possibly obtain, so you can formulate the proper strategy to move forward. So that's all what it comes down to, your strategy. So what's your strategy? At the end of the day, this was great. I learned a lot from this. I hope you guys learned a lot about how you can potentially become your own bank, you know, by using this method. So this is really powerful. If you guys, hey, you guys want to like, subscribe to the channel. If you haven't, you want to book a call with Tech. Let's get the website up again. What was it? It was Tech. Let's put that up again.
Yeah, it's drtech.com. I'll put it up again.
You guys can book.
Yeah, it's you know, I don't well, can you see it? Oops, sorry.
Oh, let me put it back up.
Yeah. You know, 15 minutes is really what I'll spend with you. I'll basically ask you, okay, how much do you make? How much do you spend? Income minus expenses equals cash flow. Very simple. It's just numbers. And again, London, you talk about this all the time, and I love this. Don't take things personal. Like, a lot of us kind of are in this position, we're looking for answers, and we might be a little bit ashamed, a little bit embarrassed about, you know, kind of where we are. We feel like we should be a little bit further ahead in our lives. Listen, you are probably ahead of most people. Okay, that you, like, again, I'm not a financial expert by any stretch of means, but I definitely know how important it is to do this and to pay attention to this. So 15 minutes, I can probably help you. Maybe I can, maybe I can't. But you have to be disciplined. Otherwise, you will, you know, you can get in trouble with doing this. But but not anything that's going to put you in jail or nothing. But you don't want to be overstressed than normal. But just you know, talk to somebody, bounce some ideas off somebody's head, and find out if they can help you. And if they can, I would definitely go ahead and take those action steps.
See, again, just reiterate this. I teach you how to small business owners, new LLCs, how to get the money so they can start grow and scale your business, which is really important. That's really important. How can you obtain the funds that you need for staffing, coaching, maybe any equipment? You need to invest in some type of staff, maybe some type of systems, electronics, right? Whatever you need the funding for. But more importantly than getting the funding is what are you going to do with the funding?
What you gonna do with it? Yeah.
That's more important than anything, because so many individuals, and I'm a victim of this too as well. In the beginning, where you get all this funds, and it was like, hey, I got $75,000 to work with. I got $250,000 to work with. Like, what do I do? So even when I talk to individuals, hey, you qualify for $108,000, they kind of get scared. Like, all this, I got access to all these funds, but so now I said I wanted to do real estate, but I don't have a faintest idea how to evaluate a property, right? I don't know my acquisition costs. I don't know my LTV. I don't know my holding costs, my closing costs. I don't know anything, but I had this concept, this idea in my head that I want to do real estate or Toro because everybody's telling me to do it. But when I finally get access to these funds, I'm just going to blow it because I really don't know anything about real estate. So my point is, yes, getting the funds is great, but once you obtain the funds, the real strategy, the real hard part come in where, hey, how can I utilize this credit, this line of credit to advance, to turn that into a positive cash flow? So that's the real strategy behind everything. So we hear anybody talk about velocity banking or getting business credit or business funding or whatever you hear people talking about getting access to funds, understand that, hey, I need to be equipped with knowledge and information where I can put these funds to use. That's the main thing. So I hope you guys, found this valuable. Definitely good afternoon. Chimed in late. We'll for sure watch the replay. Appreciate you for chiming in. Just appreciate all the support. Hey guys, tell them where they can find you too, because Tech, again, I work with Tech personally as far as obtaining business funding, and he's a business owner, have a really established business out there, California, right?
Yeah.
He's out there in California, so he's doing his thing on the west side.
Yeah. They not like us. They not like us.
Yeah. So again, man, we just putting our brains together, and just again talking to people, at the end of the day. So yeah. So Tech, if you want to share any more information, if not, then we're gonna wrap it up. Anything where they can find you at, if they want to, even you guys want to get funding, then start with the notary business. That's what Tech specializes into as well. So he's been doing notary for he can tell you that for some years now. So I have another partner too as well that specializes in that. So if you guys want to get into notary, if you guys want to start a notary business, Tech can definitely tell you how to automate your notary business, how to get more leads, how to anything doing with pricing. So that's definitely one to look into. It can definitely be something you can do. Start off with on the side. If you want to make a full-blown business, then you can also have that option too. But it's available for both. So if you want to talk a little bit about that, you definitely can.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll keep it brief. London, you made a great point. What are you going to do with this money? When you have it, what are you going to do with it now? Because you're right. That's the hard part. So I'll tell you what I did. So when I worked with London personally, full disclosure, he helped me position my personal credit, and then I was able to access more business credit, and it helped. It only helped.
Mm-hmm.
It compounded my personal life. It helped me feel less stress, more in control, more discipline, and it is reflected in how you feel with your relationships, how you feel with your energy. I'll tell you, the biggest problem, biggest stress that people have is really their debt. That's what you're looking for. right? They're looking for relief, and this is a way that you can help get some relief. So I knew that this strategy was out there. I knew it did. I knew it existed, and because it's just math, it's not right nor it's wrong. It's just numbers and how you apply. So what I did was I was able to take my notary side hustle and then evolve it into a full function business where now I only I'm the CEO now. I only delegate tasks where I don't go out and execute actual appointments. I just take on clients, take on the phone calls, and then I outsource the work to other people. So by me being more financially disciplined, I can now help other people put food on other people's table, help them in their own business growth aspirations, all because I'm a better steward of my own money and how I maintain my environment. So I took, the access that I have to business credit and I used it to fund my business and to grow and expand the business. So, and that's exactly what you talk about.
And see, the thing is that I liked about tech and other business owners like you knew exactly once you got the funding, you knew exactly what to do with it, what you're going to do with it. That's one of the questions I ask when you book a free discovery call. I ask you, how much funding do you need? What do you need the funding for? And when do you need it by? Majority of people have no idea, right? Because they're not strategic on how they're going to get the funding and how they're going to spend it to grow and scale their business. Tech knew exactly how much money he wanted, exactly what he was going to do with it, and he was able to execute. So just be mindful of that, understanding how much funding you need, what you're going to do with it, equipment, supplies, what, staff, invest in automations, like how you're going to put that money to work. That's really important, right? And then when do you need it by? So that's super important too. So just have that, ask yourself those questions, really sit down and do your due diligence and know it's sort of like you doing it don't have to be an elaborate business plan, but just understand where's the money going and what are you going to respect? I mean, what is going to be your return once you do allocate those funds? So, man, this is great.
Yeah.
I appreciate everybody who came in. Will, thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. If you got any questions, let us know before we get up out of here. You telling me I can create my own bank like Wells Fargo and Chase Bank?
Yes.
Go ahead, Ted. You can answer that.
Well, yes, you can. Because, well, what is a bank? A bank is just algorithms.
Yeah.
It's just somebody who
money, transactions.
Yeah, that's really what it is. But what I was explaining was an internal cash flow system, meaning you don't pay interest to the banks because if you need $10,000 and you don't have it, then you got to go borrow it. And if I give it to you, then what's the like say, London? Well, what's your return? Well, the banks, their return is that you're going to pay them interest on the $10,000 that you borrow from them, 5%, 3%, 11%. In a credit card, it's 26%.
Average.
But average, right? Now imagine if you needed $10,000, but you didn't have to go borrow it. You borrowed it from yourself. Mm-hmm. So that was the first question that we asked. I'm not sure if you caught that, but it said, why borrow your own money? Because you don't pay out interest. The interest doesn't go out. The interest stays in. You pay yourself interest. You can determine how much you. Now, if you're willing to pay a bank 30% interest, how much would you pay yourself?
Right.
Hopefully you would pay it higher.
Yeah.
And then you can also set your own repayment schedules. That's the nice thing about it. So I can borrow $2,500 from my internal banking system. Like we say your own bank. Don't get caught up in the terminology of the bank.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's a financial, like you say, there's an exchange or a flowing, a cash flow, cash in, cash out, a flowing in, positive, negative of your own money. But if I borrow $2,500 for myself, then I can pay myself back 100% interest, or I can pay myself back.
It's like you're recycling your money, right?
Yes.
You're just going like this. You're recycling your funds.
Yes.
So again, but you gotta be strategic about it, discipline for sure, and this way, like Tech said, you paying yourself. Like that's the whole thing. So you're borrowing from yourself. You're paying yourself. So I love the concept. I got caught up in the building of the bank. The building of the bank. Yeah, yeah. So that just again, it's just a concept. You know, that's just something that we say, hey, because of for the simple fact that you essentially recycling your money. So, but it is a great method. Again, tech specialized in it. He put me on. So, uh, yeah, because I'm more so hey, let me invest into assets to get the cash flow. Like I said, and we talked about this, we talked about this all the time. So it's pros and cons. It's pros and cons to everything. So just all depends on what's your I believe you can definitely do both,
Oh yeah.
it all comes down to discipline at the end of the day. You definitely should be doing both. Come down to being financially disciplined. And if you're not financially disciplined, then none of this will work. Period. None of it will work at the end of the day. All right, guys, we do have to go. Tech, if you want anything, we gonna. If not, then you guys know how to reach us. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. Appreciate it. Thanks you guys for showing on. Jody, appreciate the love. Will, appreciate the love. Lemon Pepper, appreciate the love. Everybody that participated, and we'll see y'all next time. All right, peace out.